Welcome. The collective is here for your information, knowledge, and love. But we ask you to sit and listen. Listen to that vibration, listen to that frequency. For it is the words that your ears will hear, but it is the vibration in which you will connect and understand, sense, feel, resonate with all that is provided. So it is this time now to connect to this frequency. Your voice, your truth, the foundation in which you stand upon. Where is that for you? Where is that foundation? Where is that truth? Where is that voice? For is it your voice? Is it your truth? Or is it someone else's? Is it someone else's thoughts? Is it someone else's teachings? Is it someone else's understanding? Or is it purely your truth? For you may have a voice, you may have this very strong voice, but is it truly yours? For it is this time now that it requires your truth. Your truth. Your truth and all of what you understand, all of what you believe, all that you've come here for. For it is this truth of yours that must be present in all things. It must be in everything that you do, that you say. For you have all experienced much. You've all been taught much. You've all been affected by much. But where does your voice lay? For it is your voice that carries the truth, the pure truth. But then it is the human mind that wishes to shift that truth. Intermingle the teachings from others' voice into your truth. But how does one steady that truth? How does one feel comfortable with their own voice, their own truth? It is by speaking. It is by listening and speaking to your own understandings, your own teachings. For you see, you hold all of the knowledge. You hold all of the knowledge that has ever been. Not just the lives that you've lived, not just the experiences in this existence, but all the truths that have ever been and ever will be. They are all inside each and every one of you. But it's unlocking what is needed. It's bringing forth what is needed. For you see, it doesn't matter what is taking place in the world around you if you're not speaking your truth. If you are not utilizing your voice. But you may ask, if I utilize my voice, I may set myself aside from others. They may not like what I have to say. They may not listen to what I have to say. Well, that's correct. just as if they speak their truth, you have the free will not to listen, not to understand. You can disagree, but you can also find common ground. You can find a common frequency in order to interact. You don't have to change someone else's truth. You don't have to sway someone from their voice, for it is your voice. It is your truth. And when you find that place within you, that truth, strength begins to build. Awareness begins to build. Your foundation begins to strengthen. And once that foundation is laid beneath your feet of your own truth, from your own voice, nothing can remove you from it. Not even your own thoughts, not even your humanness can move you from that foundation. But many are unwilling to speak their truth. Many are unwilling to hear their own voice. Why is this? This is the human condition. This is the human experience. Where you're not here to be someone else's voice. You are here to be your own voice. But the human wants to change that. This is the struggle. For you see, when you incarnate into the human form as it has been expressed in the past, you are here to be challenged. You are here to experience the human existence and all of its struggles, and all of its struggles are going to take you from that truth. But the time is upon you now to understand that strength in your own voice. That isn't meaning standing in front of numerous people and speaking. It means just in everything you say is your truth. It is how you greet someone. It is how you interact with someone. It is how you speak to yourself. When you feel the essence of the truth rising up in you, you may feel it stop here because it is this, the voice. The voice is reluctant because it is tied to the humanness. The time is now to begin to break away that barrier and begin to speak just small bits of truth. But what you'll find is once you begin to speak just those small bits of truth, it becomes easier and easier and easier, just as easy it is to breathe. It may not be profound, but it is your truth. It is your own voice. And what you also begin to find is when you do speak your truth, it carries a specific vibration, a specific vibration that others hear and have a hard time disagreeing with. They may not understand everything, but it's a new form of knowledge that begins to settle within themselves, just as you listen to someone and their truth. And there are bits and pieces that you take in and understand. They don't need to be turned into your truth, but they resonate with you. And so it is hard to disagree. It is finding that common ground, and it is through truth. It is through the frequency of truth. And why is it now that it is imperative to begin to speak your truth? For you see, as it has been expressed in the past, humanity is moving in a direction of ascending. leveling up, if you were. And it requires that level of truth. It requires that level of strength. It requires that level of pure voice. It may not always come out perfectly, but it is your truth. And this is what is assisting others. This is what is assisting. This is what is opening. This is what is providing the small cracks in the shell of others that are reluctant to come out or emerge from their shell. They begin to hear certain things. They begin to know the truths that are around them. This is why it's imperative. No matter what is taking place upon your planet, it's speaking that truth. It's holding strong to that foundation of truth and allowing your voice to grow and allowing others the opportunity to speak their truth and allow others to speak their truth and others to speak their truth. And when everyone throughout the planet is speaking their truth, this is the collective consciousness at work. Many of you have witnessed the collective consciousness. Many of you have been introduced to the collective consciousness by speaking your truth amongst others that speak their truth. It may not all be the same truth, but it is vibrationally the same connection. And this is what is advancing humanity. So give yourself in the days to come the opportunities to begin to speak your truth. Don't hide behind your voice any longer. For it is time now to bring that forward for humanity to hear. If you have questions, please begin.
Thank you for that beautiful opener. Speaking of what's happening on Earth, what do we need to know about the current events in the Middle East, please?
For it is to be observant. It is to observe and understand, just as the previous message has mentioned, it is to see and understand the truth in all of it. For truth is being brought forward. The truth is being brought forward through many different means, but it is being shrouded by distraction. So it is to be observant. It is to understand that what is taking place is no different than what has taken place many times in the past. It may seem extremely catastrophic. It may seem very devastating, and it is from the human perspective. But you also have to understand that this planet that you inhabit, this is the cycle it goes through over and over and over again. It has been brought forward many times that there is going to be events that take place that are catastrophic, that are going to be disruptive, that in essence, yes, are distractions from the reality of what is actually taking place. And what is actually taking place is a higher level of interaction. For you see, if you were to strip away all of the distractive interactions, the warring and the devastation, and you begin to listen very closely to what is being said from whatever parties are involved, what you begin to witness is each have their own specific truth. And it is that truth that they are in conflict with. But in time, that truth is going to merge. In time, that truth is going to resolve itself into a union. It's going to resolve itself into a much better understanding of humanity. For the human understanding of all this, the human perspective, there are times that chaos is required. Devastation is required. And as unsettling as this is for the human itself, this is the process to a greater revelation, to a greater revealing of that consciousness, a greater revealing of the ultimate collective consciousness. And this is why it has been said that the voice is critical now. This truth is critical now. Your timelines are beginning to speed up. Those points in time that have been mentioned in the past of this expected event of ascending, it is approaching. So much is going to culminate very quickly. You're beginning to see the edges of that. So yes, just as it has been said in the past, do not be distracted by the catastrophic events, but begin to witness to yourself, peel aside the ugliness, begin to listen. Listen in a way that you have not in the past, not with your ears, but listen with your heart. Listen to the voices that are speaking the purest of truths. They'll stand out quite brightly. For those that have great discernment, you'll see it very quickly. Others, it may take just a bit, but you'll feel the resonance in exactly what is being said. There isn't one specific truth that is being spoken, but yet there's a common truth. And it is to listen for that. That is what is going to bring on this revelation, this consciousness.
Thank you for that. So Mark says he's been working on his gluten intolerance, and he's curious if he has fully addressed the concerns of his body, which initially brought that on, and what else he needs to know or do to resolve that issue, please.
The majority of what has been addressed has alleviated if you were wishing to put a percentile upon it, between the 80 and 90th percentile has been relieved. It is this last remaining amount. There is a bit of an energetic conflict that is taking place. And this is the last remaining threads that are the most difficult to disconnect from. And it is this that causes the conflict within the system that provides just a bit of the uncomfortableness, but also what is to be addressed is to understand the aspect of the micronutrients and the micromineral aspects that are required now to begin a rebalancing of the system itself. The gut itself has been balanced, but now it is to balance these micronutrients and these minerals that are required to rejuvenate the flow of the system. For there's been much work in that region, but it is now requiring just a bit of an adjustment in those two aspects. That will bring on this last remaining portion that needs to be resolved.
Very helpful. Thank you for that. So we know that we receive messages through our dreams, but how do we know which ones to pay attention to, how to decode them and interpret them? And is there anyone we should call on for assistance during our sleep and dream time, please?
To understand the dream state and what it all is to provide to you. First, you must understand this is a very individualistic experience. For the dreams themselves, they are associated specifically with you, your physicality, and all of what you've experienced, not only in this existence, but all other existences previous, and what is out to the future. So when you are in this dream state, you have access to all areas. Now, many feel themselves just in one specific region, shall it be said, one specific node of the quantum experience. And then it many times feels as if it is very localized to what has been experienced just in some other fragmented way for this existence. But in reality, you are stitching together much that has been revealed through time and what will be revealed into the future. And it is those bits and pieces that are all interlaced to give you one experience during the dream state. Now, how to decode and how to understand what is taking place. It is not to allow the human mind to engage to a depth in which it becomes overcomplicated. For the human mind itself will begin to overlay images, overlay thoughts from the physical realm. It shall be just the opposite. It is to find yourself in a place in which you can address what has just been experienced during the dream state and understand the vibrational alignment that you are in when you are in the dream state. And it is through that that you'll receive the messages. But it is, you have to allow yourself to enter back into that frequency state. So first is to understand while you're in the dream state is to find yourself approaching the lucid state, meaning you have functionality within your dream state. Allowing yourself to enter into the functional side of the dream state, this lucid activity, then you are able to feel the dream itself. You are able to feel the vibrational aspect of the dream, carry that back out of the dream, and allow yourself then to re-engage into the dream frequency, not the dream state, but the dream frequency, allowing yourself to retrieve any information that has been brought forward through the dream itself. As far as calling upon anyone to assist you during this from the energetic frequency state, allowing yourself time first to adjust to this lucid activity, allowing yourself then time to begin the decoding process. What you'll begin to find, there will be a pattern of individuals for specific dream types. In those specific dream types, you'll find that there will be one specific, call it individual, that will be represented over and over again in that particular dream type. That is the individual that you can call upon to help you bring forth that information during that dream state, and so on for each dream type.
That sounds quite complicated. So oftentimes I'm not lucid in the dream, but I'm starting to awake, but I'm still in that hypnagogic stage. And I do have clarity about what the dream meant, or right upon waking, if I talk it out or write it out, I have clarity.
That is because you are remaining within that dream frequency state. These are all moments that you are not fully aware of, but now having this understanding, you can begin to put together a pattern of recognition to understand the frequency state of each dream state, to bring it forward out into the awakened state.
Okay, so we don't necessarily have to be lucid.
This is correct.
Okay.
But it does help because it puts you into a frequency that is easier to carry out of the dream than when you are in a deep dream state.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. And so Wendy and many others over a couple of years actually have been having these rising water dreams. Can you tell her what hers meant? And is it similar to all of us who are having these rising water dreams?
And so the aspect of rising water is the impending change that is taking place. For many that witness a rising water state in their dream, this anticipated state of water that is rising around them or witnessing it from a distance, what you are tapping into, what you are connecting to, that vibrational state of rising water is the collective of what is taking place around your planet. It is the rising tensions, it is the rising conflicts, it is the rising aspect of greater change throughout humanity. So this is why at times they are localized amongst many within the dream state. They all sense that there is something that is upon you. This is this water that is impending, that is rising, taking place, or washing away, cleansing. And this is exactly what is taking place upon your planet at a particular time. Then it begins to wane, and there are no longer the rising water dreams. This is because the humanity upon the planet has been stabilized. But then once it begins to rise again and becomes unstable, many begin to have the rising water dreams.
So it feels like it's important for us to understand whether we're peaceful in that type of dream when the water's rising or whether we're afraid.
Yeah, this is correct. If you are in a peaceful state, you are being an observer. If you're feeling as if you are being over-consumed or consumed by any impending water, or if you are being the interaction with the water itself, this may be a closer approach to your consciousness that there is something that is changing. You are in a deeper connection point to what is taking place either around the planet or nearby wherever you are in existence.
Thank you for that. So Kathy's curious what you can tell her about the significance to her of a country in the South Pacific called Kiribati, and her pending visit in October and November of 2024.
For it is not by coincidence that this has been aligned for this travel to this specific location. This has been pre-assigned for some time. And the reason being, this pre-assignment, if it were, there is a vibrational, shall it be said, a vibrational attuning that will take place. Once you arrive, it will feel as if you've arrived at any other location. But this is just the adjustment period. Within a very short amount of time, within a relatively speaking, a short amount of time within your own time construct, your vibrational state is going to incur what will feel like a stepping through, as if the reality point that you are currently in begins to open and dissolve around you, and you step into another reality point, almost walking through a portal of sorts. The significance of this particular landmass does sit upon a very active portal itself, one that is a bit of a transient portal, that is more of a shuttling of sorts from reality point to reality point. For you as a human within this reality construct, You are transitioning from one existent reality into another existent reality upon this human construct. Other beings utilize it to do just the same within their own reality construct. So think of it as you're being teleported into another time frame within the same time frame, just adjacent to. But once you step through, the other time frame, the other reality point no longer exists. It doesn't mean that anything that has taken place in the past in that reality point will no longer affect you. It's just you have a leveling of consciousness. You have a leveling of your reality experience. There's an awareness that will begin to settle in. The frequency states that surround you will begin to harmonize. You'll have clarity that you haven't had before. You'll have a knowing that wasn't present before. But all of what takes place in the past will still be relevant. It just will not have the effect that it had in the previous reality point.
Fascinating. Thank you for that. So Christina's sister Sheila is curious what she needs to know about the polyps in her uterus, and will they heal on their own, please?
Two aspects to be addressed. For will they heal upon their own? For the human body itself can repair itself to a specific point. Much of it must be done through alignment. Much of it must be done through aligning frequency states. And that is what is necessary to begin this healing process. There's a point at which you begin to shift perspective, begin to eliminate fear, begin to eliminate worry, begin to eliminate those human aspects that draw attention to what is present. Thoughts, concerns. It doesn't mean that it needs to be completely out of your awareness, but enough that you change the frequency state by which they are there present. Once you begin to shift the frequency state away from the thoughts, the concerns, the fears, the human body then is at a place at which it begins to rejuvenate itself, begins to lessen itself. Meaning anything that is present begins to shrink, begins to lessen its physical appearance. Now, to have it remove itself completely, this takes an extreme amount of practice. Many humans are not at that capable point. There are a few, but it is to understand that you can bring it down to a point at which it is manageable, or then can be addressed with very little interaction. And that is the most appropriate state for it to be in. For when your body is reset to a point, perspective-wise, of why it's there, and there is no concern, other than it is just your human body doing what the human body will do, and you acknowledge it, and you give it the appropriate vibrational resources, meaning giving itself gratitude, love, healing aspects, but no fear. Fear is the fuel, fear is the food. Concern is the fear that is intertwining with it. Worry is the concern and the fear intertwining with it. So understand, it is these vibrational aspects that need to be eliminated. then the body itself will begin to work its magic. And then you can provide it even additional healing by providing it the love that it needs. The healing aspect of love, gratitude, that your body is present, that your body is here. Then whatever remains can be addressed appropriately.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. So Linda had an experience that she'd like clarity with. Many years ago, there was an object that came over their house in the middle of the night. It was so close that it triggered the motion detectors on the back porch. The bright lights shone into the house through the skylights, lighting up the living room. She and her husband jumped out of bed and it moved over the house. They were huddling in the kitchen, wondering what it was. It was bright and silent and hovered over the house for a few moments and then left silently and as suddenly as it appeared. Can you explain to her what that was and why it appeared to them that way, please?
What was observed, what was witnessed, what was experienced? This isn't you call upon it as an object, though it does not have the mass, the physical aspect of an object. But what was being witnessed was an energetic form of transportation, if you wish. Many would say, yes, a craft, but there was no physical object to be witnessed. So you see, when observations have to take place upon your planet, when your galactic family must observe, when your galactic family must witness what is taking place, they send forth, you would understand it as a probe, an energetic probe, an orb of sorts, but much larger than an actual orb. Your orbs are more terrestrial based energy that is here present upon your planet. But the intensity isn't meant to frighten, cast fear, but it is understood that first contact at times can be a bit disconcerting. But it is this sphere of energy, this orb of energy, that not only settled upon your location, but many others in the area. And for you see, there is a collective, if you wish to call it that, of individuals in your specific area that are all galactically assigned together. And this is an observation to witness the progression of where you are along your path. It doesn't mean that you need to be witness to all things galactic, but it is to understand that you are part of a larger galactic collective within your area, and you're being observed for your growth, for your path along your human experience. They're observing your human experience. So it isn't to have any fear about it, but what you'll begin to understand now is eliminating any fear that was associated with it begins to shift a vibrational signature within you and your husband to allow the observations to take place yet again. And there will be other times of observation. But what you can begin to do For the alignment with the galactic observers, Venusian, Andromedan, Orion, and Palladian. For those are the four primary that we're observing for your region, for your area. So you have to understand this is the alignment. So you can call upon them at any point and begin to connect vibrationally to that group, that grouping. Just as you are a grouping in your region, they too are a grouping, and they are assigned to that area. So shift that alignment within yourself just a bit to begin to accept this galactic connection and the observable points that you have along your existence. For this is not the first time, this is the most significant, but you have also witnessed many other points along your existence that cannot be explained. And many of those were galactic as well. So it is now this time to understand that there is a purpose in this alignment, and it is to connect your vibration to those that are observing, to allow them to be present with you. In time, they will begin to provide you more detail through downloads, vibrational experiences. Even within your dream state, you'll begin to witness things that are not of this planet. And that is them connecting with you.
Thank you. But in terms of connecting with her, it doesn't matter that some of those people may have moved away from that area, or that she
This is correct.
Or that she and her spouse are no longer married.
This is correct.
Okay.
And it does not matter. They are still being observed. It does not matter at which state they are in their human connectedness. They're still being observed.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. So supposedly there was an ancient, highly advanced civilization that occupied all of Northern Asia up until approximately 1775, named Tartaria. Did this nation truly exist along our current physical timeline?
Do not look upon it as being two separate timelines, but yet separate as an aspect of understanding. Think of it more as a blended parallels. For you understand how there are within humans parallel existences, and many of those parallel existences are either ahead or just slightly behind within their own existent time frame. Many times those parallel existences within a human never interact with one another. They stay separate. But in this case, it is as if your existence that you have in this human time frame had an overlay of another parallel existence. For it wasn't just that grouping. There were many others that were overlaid upon this existence. One must have to understand the complexities of your human experience upon this planet that you inhabit, within this particular realm that you exist in. Many believe that this is a specific realm and it is the only realm that they exist in. But then there are others, they also believe there are multiple realms. And yes, that is true as well. There are times that many of them converge. And this was a convergence. This was the point at which there was a blending of the different realms or different parallel existences upon this planet. The planet itself hasn't changed. It's just that there was an overlay of a great amount of different existences, different parallel existences. So much has been recorded of these different groupings, these different existences. Much has been recorded through time that it was an existence, then it wasn't an existence. This was something, but there's no construct of understanding of why it was in place, but yet where are the beings, where are the humans, where are the existent forms? This is because this was an overlay of that existence. It is quite confusing to understand this, but understand your planet itself merged and then exited over a period of time. What remains is the teachings, the writings, the understandings of what took place for that short amount of time, short relative terms to your human existence.
Which is why it's on some maps.
This is correct. Many of the maps that you witness, there are many that go back many millennia. Many have not been discovered to this point. Many will be discovered, but you have to understand there are many different frameworks by which your physical aspects of your planet do not resemble anything that they resemble now or have resembled in the past of your own teachings from when you have been through your teachings in school. For you call them continents, and they move about upon your planet. That they do because they physically move, but you have to also understand there are overlays upon them that are not witnessed, but only during certain periods of emergence where they do become visible.
Wow, thank you for that. So Katie says that for the last few months, she feels like no matter what she tries, her timing is off and her judgment feels off. Something just feels off. Sometimes she'll make a decision and then immediately after that, she gets more information, seeming like that first decision was incorrect. Can you tell her what's happening, please?
This aspect of timing, this aspect of being off in your timing, discernment, decision-making. Allow yourself for a moment to step aside of your physicality for just a moment. Be an observer for just a moment. What you begin to witness, parallels, these parallel existences. One, the current time frame in which you exist, this human existence. And the other is one that is quite fluid. And it is quite close. You can think of it as a parallel existence, but it is just a bit different than that. This is more of a frequency state. It isn't a parallel existence, but a frequency state. And what is taking place is that frequency state interrupts the physical state. At times, it is just a fraction of a moment in front of, behind, alongside any decision that you begin to make. So this is why when you make a decision, there are moments that all of a sudden everything seems to change in front of you, as if you've made the wrong decision or that you shouldn't have or should have done something different. This is because it is the frequency state is just vibrating at the same frequency that you're making the decision at the time, and it is just slightly off. The timing is slightly off because you're feeling that other frequency state of existence. This is what you need to observe. You need to see your physical state and this frequency state that are not in harmony. It is to begin to blend them back together. See, what had happened is in the past, there was a point at which a major decision was imminent. And there was so much indecision in the decision making that they had to separate themselves, and they have yet to come back together. So you have to begin to blend these two back together. And how does one blend them back together? It is to take time, truly, a reflective moment of time for the physical self, to begin to address the physical self in a way that it hasn't, realigning the physical self in a way that it hasn't, realigning one's thoughts in a way that it hasn't. And by doing so, that begins to shift the frequency states back to an equalization point to bring them back into harmony. Because it was that significant decision point that had so much indecision that separated them. Now it's time to eliminate any decisions, eliminate any of the choice points for a short amount of time, to recalibrate, to rebalance, and reset, and bring both of them back together.
Wonderful. Thank you for that advice. So Taylor's curious about his contract and his purpose. What does he need to know this evening, please?
For it isn't to understand the contract, other than to understand that each human, as they incarnate into this experience as a human, they have contracted with a number of different individuals to bring forth a number of different experiences. But it is to understand the greater purpose of why one is in existence. And it is to set aside any of the challenges, any of the disruptions for just a moment. It is to observe yourself from a point that you have not seen yourself. And how does one do that? How does one observe themselves from a point at which they've not seen themselves? It is to reflect upon yourself, to look at yourself, stand in front of the mirror and look at yourself. Look into your own eyes, look into your own experience, and understand that there is a purpose. You have to understand that purpose isn't something that is scripted. Purpose isn't something that is given. Purpose is revealed. Purpose is revealed through here, the heart. It's what brings you the ultimate joy. It brings you the ultimate sensation of existence. What is it And that is what you draw from looking upon yourself. You speak to yourself. What is it in my experience that brings me the ultimate joy? What is it in my own experience that brings me the ultimate peace? What fills my soul? But then one would say, but I cannot exist in my human form by doing what brings me the ultimate joy, because it doesn't provide me the finances, it doesn't provide me a house, it doesn't provide me a car, it doesn't provide me a romance, it doesn't provide. Just for that moment is to find that place in which it brings you the ultimate peace, the ultimate joy. Do not allow your head to be filled with everything else. And then you say to yourself that I am who I am. I'm blessed to be in this body. I am blessed to be in this experience. I chose this experience and all of what it has provided to me. And it is understanding what that feels like. And that is a point of remembrance. That is a point of recognition. That is a point of awakening. It doesn't mean you're going to go out and change the world immediately, but it is a point that your humanness is here to experience. And then, and it isn't to do it once and be done with it. It is to do it over and over and over. And this is for all of humanity to understand. This is something that all humanity should understand about themselves. And when you come into that recognition, when you come into that alignment, when you come into that understanding of self, what that does is open the pathways for the universe then to begin to align all of the things that you have scripted for your contract to begin to be revealed to yourself in time. Because what has been taking place up to this point is that it's been shielded. You've been running from what you've put in place. You've been chasing other things. That is fine. That is the human experience. But there comes a point at which one reveals it all to themselves. You may not see it clearly as a book in front of you, but the universe begins to align the things that you've contractually put in front of you. And they begin to slowly reveal themselves. But you have to be diligent about understanding yourself first. You have to be diligent about understanding the divine who stands before you. You have to understand that you are here purposefully. Your purpose may not be fully revealed to you, but everything will be aligned to reveal that purpose in time.
How beautiful. Thank you for that. So we're curious what you can tell us about this meteor-like object that crashed off the coast of Papua New Guinea back in 2014. There have been about 700 tiny metallic spears or balls found at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean that don't match any natural or man-made alloy. Was that an ET craft or a meteor, or what was that?
For it was not a craft of sorts. It wasn't a craft that you would understand, a craft that you witness with your galactic family aboard. But it is a craft of sorts, a transportation device, to be more precise. But you see, whether you witness it as a meteor or as a craft or some other object, celestial object coming into your planet, yes, there have been some that are just that. Meteors, asteroids that have devastated the planet. This wasn't that. You understand the aspect of seeding a planet. Understand that this craft, this transportation device, is one that brings forth this seeding process. It is purposeful. This is a purposeful alignment with this transportation device. The spheres that you speak of, those are the seeds. It doesn't matter where upon the planet it impacts. Water, land, it does not matter. But you have to understand each one of those does contain, for your relative terms, life, but not what you would understand it as in your existence. But they lay dormant. They lay dormant for eons. Though in your scientific world, you'll explore them and you'll dissect them, you'll inspect them. And yes, they will look just as they do. A metallic sphere of some unknown origin, of no relative metal that is upon your planet at this time. That's correct, because it doesn't exist anywhere upon your planet. You see, your planet is continually being seeded, and those seeds are laying dormant, just as many plants. They cast seeds, and many of those seeds never sprout at a time frame that you would appreciate. But then, at a point at which it is required, those seeds begin to grow. The same is for this. Long after many of you are gone, long after much of humanity is gone, the growth begins again. Not in your human forms, but growth will begin again. And it will be here upon your planet. Humans will be here, but they will interact differently than if it were to take place today, because the knowledge will be much different then than it is now.
Well, what in the world are they going to grow into?
All forms of life. Aquatic, land, air, plants, beings, they take all different forms.
And where exactly did they come from?
For outside of your galaxy framework, within your universe, but outside of your galaxy. There's not one specific origin, for you see it as a composite. They are made up of multitudes of resources. Think of it as a shipping container that is floating through your galaxy, and it is being deposited with different forms of life from all around your galaxy. For this Earth planet is the only one like it. And this is the place in which all of it is experienced. This is the place where the experiments thrive.
So it doesn't matter if the scientists move them?
It does not. They will, just as it is if a flower casts seeds upon the ground, somebody picks the seeds up and takes them across the planet to another location and puts them in the ground, they're going to grow into a beautiful flower, separate from where they were dropped.
Was this on some sort of time schedule to be dropped at that time, or?
It was just by chance. For once it makes its cycle through and it is filled to the brim, if you were, then it is time to deposit, time to cast the seeds.
Amazing. Wow, thank you. So we have several people who are curious about their primary galactic alignment and their source alignment, if we may.
That is fine.
April, who's here, would like her primary and source alignment, please.
primary Palladian, source Lyran,
Wonderful. And April's daughter, Marissa, please.
primary Arcturian, source Andromedan.
Thank you. Is there something behind me here?
There is nothing behind you.
Okay, thank you. Tyson's primary and source.
Primary Venusian, source Andromedan.
And Taylor.
Primary Syrian, source Orion.
And Jennifer.
Primary Lyran, source Syrian.
And Christina's sister, Sheila.
Primary Arcturian, source Lyran.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for all of that. Before we close, do you have any final remarks, please?
For it is time now, and you understand this time that is before you. This time that is moving towards ascension. No matter how it looks for each individual, there is this movement toward this is why it does feel as if the timelines are moving much quicker. The experiences are much quicker. The lessons are much quicker. But it is time for the voice. It is time for the truth. The truth isn't collective. The truth is individual. But when it is individual, the consciousness is collective. So it is to understand how it does all align in the end. But first, the truth must come out. And however way it comes out through you, the truth must come out. It is time to use your voice, your voice. Strengthen that voice. Allow others to hear that voice, whether that's 1 or 1,000. Allow them to hear your voice and be confident in your voice because it is your truth. So allow yourself in these days to come to speak that truth, to own that truth, and then feel the strength build beneath you. That is the power of speaking your truth, owning your truth, living your truth.
Lovely. Thank you so very much for your presence today.
And as always, the collective is here for your information, knowledge, and love.